It was supposed to stay on my desktop. That was the only rule I'd made with myself: record, speak, save, and don't share. I didn't even name the file anything emotional, just log_05.wave. Cold. Clinical. Like it was part of some boring system maintenance. And yet, somehow, in the bleary haze of a Thursday night, long after everyone at the office had gone home, long after I should have stopped working, I dragged and dropped the file into the shared Google Drive folder labeled Client Proposals, Q3. It stayed there all weekend. Monday morning started like any other, my screen buzzing awake, my too-hot coffee burning my tongue. The usual Slack pings. The hollow enthusiasm of people trying not to hate their lives before 10 a.m. Then came the message. Hey, random Q, did you mean to upload an audio file to the proposals folder? It was from Layla in operations. Friendly, but slightly too neutral. Like she wasn't sure how close she was allowed to stand near what she'd just seen. My stomach flipped. I clicked open the folder. There it was. Log_05.wave, sitting there like a landmine in a sandbox. I felt the blood drain from my face. My fingers hovered over the file. I clicked. The playback opened automatically. My voice. Okay. It's 1:17 a.m. I can't sleep again. I think I'm forgetting how to talk to people. Or maybe they're forgetting how to listen. I yanked the volume down, closed it, deleted it. Then I sat back in my chair and felt like I might pass out. Because I knew what was in that file. It wasn't just a vent. Not the kind of generic "I'm tired" musings you'd post anonymously on Reddit. It was too much. Too real. Rambling thoughts about my dad's stroke. About how I hadn't cried at the funeral but cried when I saw his toothbrush still by the sink. About how I was so deeply, achingly lonely some nights that I left the TV on just so I could forget I was the only one breathing in my apartment. And worse, things about the office. About the way my manager smiles like he's checking a box. How it felt like everyone here knew how to perform professional contentment except me. I'd even mentioned names. God. I tried to remember everything I'd said. My memory went cold in patches. I remembered mumbling something about Layla, nothing cruel, just raw. Something like, Layla is the only person here who ever asks me how I'm doing and actually waits for the answer. I don't think she knows how much that matters. Which wasn't awful. But it wasn't supposed to be heard. And then there were other things. Sharper things. About how this job made me feel like I was treading water while being told to smile. About the mental gymnastics it took to show up on time and respond to emails with exclamation points. And about Emma. About how I still checked her Instagram stories even though we broke up 8 months ago. About how she used to tell me I was almost present, like I was always one layer away from real life. That line played over and over in my head. Almost present. I told myself maybe no one had listened. Maybe Layla had just seen the file name and assumed it was a mistake. Then a second message came. From Raj. Yo, not my business but that audio file, you okay? I closed my laptop. Hard. My heart beat like I was running. But I wasn't running. I was sitting in an open floor office with 18 coworkers who might have just heard me say I was afraid of dying alone. I stood up and went to the bathroom. Splashed cold water on my face. Looked at myself like I might confess something. I didn't. I dried my hands on a paper towel that was too thin to be helpful and sat in the last stall with my phone. No messages from Emma. Of course not. Just Layla again. Don't worry. Not telling anyone. But you should know that was brave, in a weird way. I stared at her words for a long time. My throat burned. Brave? It hadn't felt brave. It felt like being caught in the middle of screaming and realizing your mic was still on. And now I didn't know what would happen. Would HR get involved? Would people treat me differently? Would they pretend nothing happened while secretly replaying it, wondering just how fragile I was? And underneath it all, the worst question. Would anyone look at me the same way again, and would I want them to? Tuesday morning greeted me with a heavy silence. Not the usual one, the soft hum of fluorescent lights, the click-clack of keyboards, but something denser, stickier. It clung to the air between desks. Maybe it was all in my head. But maybe not. Layla waved at me from across the open space. A small smile, no teeth, just enough. Raj nodded too quickly and looked away just as fast. Classic Raj, awkward in the way you don't hate. Everyone else was normal. Maybe too normal. I sat down and logged in. No emails from HR. No vague "please come to a quick chat" calendar invites. Nothing to indicate the ground was shifting. But it was. I could feel it. Around 11 o'clock, I ducked into the break room and poured myself coffee I didn't want. Claire from design came in. We'd never really talked, just exchanged niceties at office parties and once shared a cab when it rained. She stood by the sink, looked at me, and said, "Hey. Just so you know." I listened to a bit of it. Not on purpose. I was looking for the pitch deck, and it autoplayed. I didn't answer. My body wanted to curl in on itself like burnt paper. She kept going. It was honest. I haven't heard someone talk like that in a long time. Especially not here. Still, I said nothing. Just nodded and stared into my mug. I related to some of it, she added, and then left before I could respond. I felt something crack open inside me. Not pain exactly. More like the start of pain. The tremor before the collapse. At lunch, I sat alone in the corner booth. I usually didn't. In most days I'd scroll through my phone pretending to have urgent tasks while microwaving leftovers. Today, I needed the corner like it was a shield. That's when Chris, from accounting, of all people, walked up. "Hey," he said. "Mind if I join?" I blinked. Sure. Chris was the kind of guy who wore the same 3 button-downs in rotation and always had podcast recommendations. We'd had maybe 2 real conversations in 3 years. He sat down, unwrapping a sandwich, and glanced at me. "So, Google Drive." That was intense. I froze. He noticed. "Sorry. Too direct?" "No, just, yeah." It was. He took a bite, chewed, then said, "Around the food, I journal, too. Not audio, though. Can't stand the sound of my voice. But I get it. Needing to let things out. Wasn't supposed to be shared. Yeah. But maybe some things are heard because they need to be." I didn't respond. He wiped his mouth. Honestly, it made me check in with myself. Been on autopilot since 2020. I don't even know if I like this job. Or city. Or my girlfriend. That last part surprised even him, I think. He laughed nervously. "Guess we all have recordings in our heads, huh?" "Some of us just hit upload," I said, and he chuckled. "Anyway, you wanna go for a drink Friday?" Bunch of us talking about it. Talking about my audio? He shrugged. Kind of. More about what it woke up in us. It's weird, man. But also, refreshing. I nodded. I'll think about it. Cool. He stood, tossed his wrapper, and left like he hadn't just casually disarmed my anxiety. That evening, at home, I opened my voice recorder app. For a second, I hesitated. Then I hit record. It's me again. Day 2 since the upload. I thought I'd be ruined. But I'm not. Not yet. People looked at me today like I was both fragile and fascinating. Like I accidentally bared something they didn't know they needed to see. It's funny. All this time I thought silence kept me safe. Turns out, silence just kept me lonely. I'm still scared. But maybe scared isn't the worst thing to be. I saved it. Locally this time. Very locally. But I didn't delete the original. I just renamed the file, log_05_public.wave. Then I created a new folder. Personal logs, shared. and I left it empty. For now. But I was already wondering what might belong there next. By Wednesday, I was starting to feel like I'd been peeled open and left out in the conference room. People didn't avoid me. That might have been easier. They looked. Some with curiosity, some with a touch of awkward respect, like they'd seen me in a way I hadn't intended to be seen. Like I was suddenly more human, and that made everyone unsure of how professional to act. The weirdest part? I hadn't lost my job. No one in HR had called. My manager, Tom, hadn't mentioned it once. But that absence started to feel louder than any confrontation. Like he was waiting to see if I'd combust on my own. At 2:04 p.m., my calendar pinged, one-on-one with Tom. Weekly. Standard. Usually dull. But this one felt radioactive. I brought my laptop, notebook, and water bottle like armor. Tom looked up when I entered. "Hey," he said. "Have a seat." I sat. He didn't make small talk. He tapped his pen against his planner and then looked at me directly. "So, that recording. There it was." I nodded. "Yeah." He leaned back in his chair. "That was unexpected." I tried to swallow. It wasn't meant to be public. I figured. Silence. Then, I listened to it. I held my breath. He continued, "You said some things. About the team. About the company. About me." I winced. "Yeah." He shrugged. Some of it was tough to hear. But it wasn't cruel. I looked up. He added, "Actually, some of it was spot on. You called me technically supportive but emotionally inert." My face flushed. He cracked a smile. "Honestly, I've been called worse. But I've never had it phrased quite so elegantly." I laughed. A short, startled sound. Tom leaned forward, elbows on desk. "Look, I don't know if you're okay. And I'm not going to pretend this isn't weird. But I appreciate the honesty, accidental or not." I nodded slowly. Then he said something I didn't expect. "We've been talking leadership, about making room for more open dialogue. Mental health, burnout, real stuff. And I think your recording cracked something open. Maybe it's time." I blinked. "You want to use my nervous breakdown as a conversation starter? Only if you're okay with that. Otherwise, it stays buried." I stared at the desk, at the corner of his coffee mug, at my own thumbnail. Then I looked at him. Maybe not buried. Just placed gently somewhere people can find it if they need it. He nodded. "That's fair." We moved on to metrics. Deadlines. Budgets. But everything felt different. Like I'd stepped behind the glass wall we all pretended wasn't there. At the end of the day, I checked the shared folder again. The personal logs, shared, one I'd made. Still empty. I hovered over the upload button. Then I clicked. Log_06.wave. Day 3. I had my one-on-one with Tom today. He didn't fire me. He didn't even yell. He listened. I think he saw me, the version of me I usually keep locked up behind sentences like "all good," or "no worries at all." There's something terrifying about being visible. Like, fully visible. But also, relieving. I don't know if I'm inspiring anyone. I just know I'm breathing a little easier. I clicked save. It didn't feel brave. It felt necessary. Then I walked out of the building. No headphones. Just the city noise. It sounded new. That night, I got a message from Layla. "I added something to your folder." Not a voice file, just a scan of something I wrote last year. You don't have to read it. But it felt good to not keep it in my drawer. I opened it. A one-page poem. Raw. Full of fear and hope and mess. And just like that, I didn't feel alone anymore. I hadn't seen Raj all day. Not that we usually interacted much, but after our brief lunch exchange earlier in the week, something about his absence stood out. Around 4 p.m., I noticed his desk was empty, clean, untouched, no blinking notifications on his monitor. When I asked around, someone muttered something about PTO. Which was fine. Normal, even. But my brain, now fully trained to overread everything, started spiraling. What if I'd pushed people too far? What if my file had made him rethink everything? What if people were leaving, avoiding, blaming? By 6 p.m., I was still at my desk. The only one left in our section. The cleaning crew was buzzing through rows with vacuum cords like snakes. I opened the shared drive again. Another upload. Layla_note_1.txt. Just a line. There's something holy about imperfection when it's named out loud. No signature. No title. No explanation. I read it 5 times. Then I added something underneath it, like a reply no one asked for. And something unbearable when it's ignored. I saved the edit. Closed the file. And sat back with my eyes closed. On Thursday, Emma texted me. Not a question. Not an apology. Just, "So you're going viral at the office now, huh?" I stared at my screen. Then, didn't realize I was still subscribed to your chaos. I didn't know what to say. After a minute, I typed. I never meant for you or anyone to hear it. Least of all like that. She replied almost instantly. I listened to the whole thing. You sound like you finally said things you were always afraid to tell me. I felt nauseous. Maybe I did. Doesn't mean I didn't love you. Just means I didn't know how to show up fully. She left it on read. Nothing else came. And that was worse than a fight. Friday morning, I logged into Slack and saw a new private message. From Claire. Hey. That folder you made. I added something too. Hope that's okay. I clicked. Claire_voice_1.m4a. I've been pretending I'm fine for years. Smiling through meetings, acing deadlines, being the team player. I haven't told anyone my mom was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's 3 months ago. I didn't want to be the sad girl. But I'm so tired. And I don't know how to do this alone anymore. My throat closed up. I sat there, listening. All of it. Every word. She sounded like me. Different details, different grief, but the same lonely echo. That night, I uploaded log_07.wave. Friday. The folder has more voices now. I don't know what I expected when I made it, maybe just a place to deposit my shame quietly. But now it's starting to feel like, not a confession booth, but a campfire. Where people say things they've carried too long. I used to think silence was strong. Now I think it's just heavy. And we all pretend we're not dragging it behind us. Claire, if you hear this, you're not alone. Saturday afternoon, I got a notification that the folder had a new subfolder, Anonymous. Inside were 3 files. No names. One just said, I haven't slept through the night in years. Another, I cry in the supply closet sometimes. And the third, this place makes me feel both seen and invisible at the same time. I stared at them, one after the other. Then I added one more. Log_08.wave. It's not therapy. It's not a fix. But maybe we're building something here. A mosaic of mistakes and secrets and soft spots. Maybe that's the most human thing we've done in a long time. And maybe I don't want it to stop. At dinner that night, I met up with Chris and Layla at a bar near the office. Others joined, people from different departments. Marketing, admin, even someone from IT. We didn't talk about the files. Not directly. But the conversations were different. Deeper. Slower. Kinder. At one point, Layla raised her glass and said, to being just brave enough. We all clinked without saying much. And I realized, for the first time in months, maybe years, I didn't feel like I had to apologize just for existing. It started with a post-it. Bright yellow, stuck to the edge of the whiteboard in the main conference room. If we can talk about deadlines, we should be able to talk about the reasons we can't sleep. No name. No one claimed it. No one erased it either. By noon, someone added another. I'm tired of pretending I love my job when I don't even love myself right now. Then another. Burnout shouldn't be a badge of honor. I stood there reading them during my afternoon lull, coffee cooling in my hands. Layla walked in, stopped next to me. Did you see who started it? I asked. She shook her head. Don't care. It matters more that someone did. We both stared at the wall. By the end of the day, there were at least 12 notes. Different handwritings. Different truths. All taped quietly to the glass like fragile birds nesting where no one had thought they could. Tom scheduled an all-hands the next morning. Not unusual, but the invite title read, Creating Space, a different kind of check-in. It was in the same conference room. With the same notes. When we walked in, the chairs were in a wide circle, not rows. No projector. No notepads. Just us. Tom stood in the middle. Hands in pockets. Okay, he said. Here's the deal. You've all seen the folder. Some of you have contributed. Some of you haven't. That's okay. But what's happening here, it's something. And we want to talk about it. No agenda. Just this. A pause. Then he gestured around. I'll go first. And he did. He talked haltingly about losing his dad to cancer last year. About not taking enough time off. About how he buried himself in work because it felt easier to check spreadsheets than check in with himself. No one spoke for a full minute afterward. Then Claire said, "Thank you." Then Chris talked. About his fear of becoming someone he didn't recognize. About how easy it was to disappear into routines that never asked who you really were. I listened. Absorbed. My heart beat too fast. Then I heard my name. Would you like to share anything? Tom asked gently. Everyone looked at me. Not with pressure. With invitation. I stood. My name's not on the original file, but I think you all know it was mine, I began. A few nods. One small smile. I recorded it because I couldn't afford therapy. Because I didn't know how else to be honest with myself. I never thought it'd be heard. But now that it has, I'm weirdly glad. A pause. Then, I'm not okay all the time. But I'm here. And I think that counts for something. Silence. But warm. And one clap. Then more. Not loud. Just enough. Later that day, I checked the folder. Someone had added a file called grace.mp3. No intro. No context. Just a voice, quiet and trembling. If you're reading this, if you've ever felt like a ghost in your own life, me too. I don't have advice. But I can sit here beside you in the dark until the lights come back. It broke me a little. But in the way a dam breaks to let a river flow. That night, at home, I wrote a new entry. log_09.wave. Today, I stood in front of people I usually pretend around, and I let them see the mess. And they didn't turn away. Maybe that's the start of something. Not healing, not fixing. Just being known. I used to think vulnerability was weakness. Now I think hiding is. And I don't want to hide anymore. I uploaded it. Closed my laptop. And for the first time in a long time, I fell asleep without needing to pretend I was fine. By Monday, the office felt like it had exhaled. Not entirely, people still hovered near the coffee machine with two bright eyes and carefully curated smiles, but something had shifted. The silence wasn't as thick. The tension had less bite. and then the company newsletter came out. It wasn't supposed to be dramatic. Usually just a few bullet points, birthdays, upcoming deadlines, sometimes a quote from leadership. But this time, there was a new section titled, The Human Corner. Below it, in plain text, no font embellishment, it read, "This week, instead of reminding you to hydrate or hustle, we want to thank the people who've quietly opened doors in unexpected ways." If you've seen the shared folder, you know what we mean. If you haven't, check it out. Not because it's required, but because realness is contagious, and so is courage. And if you've been carrying something invisible, just know, some of us are finally learning how to see. No one signed it. But it didn't matter. By lunch, the folder had doubled in size. There was a new file from someone I didn't recognize. Voice_untitled_4.m4a. I'm the guy you always see fixing the printers. I've been at this company 8 years. My son came out last year and I didn't know how to handle it. I still don't. But I want to learn. I think this folder helped me admit that. Thanks. Really. I listened to the whole thing, sitting cross-legged under my desk like I used to during fire drills in grade school. Later, I passed the tech guy in the hall. We exchanged a look. Just a nod. That was enough. After work, I found Layla in the lobby, waiting for her ride. She had her headphones half on and was scrolling through her phone like someone trying not to overthink. "Hey," I said. She pulled one earbud out. "Hey. Did you write the newsletter?" She smirked. "Who says I did?" I raised an eyebrow. "Okay, maybe," she said. I just thought it deserved more than a Slack thread. It was perfect. She tucked her phone into her coat. You know what's wild? I used to think being professional meant being clean. Untouchable. But I think the mess is where the good stuff grows. Maybe we've been doing it backwards, I said. Her ride pulled up. She opened the door, paused. You good? She asked. Good adjacent, I said. She laughed and got in. I stood there for a moment after the car pulled away. Just breathing. Just letting it in. That night, I started a new file. Not an upload. Just a message to myself. log_10.wave. Sometimes I wish I could go back and tell the old me that he doesn't have to earn rest. That he doesn't need a breakdown to deserve softness. That he's not broken, just unfinished. And that maybe connection doesn't come from pretending we're fine. Maybe it starts the moment we stop. Today I stood in the break room and asked someone how they were, and I meant it. That's something. That's not nothing. I didn't upload that one. Not yet. But I saved it. Because I'm learning that not everything has to be hidden to be sacred. And some things, even the fragile ones, are worth holding on to a little longer. It couldn't last forever. The momentum slowed. Fewer uploads. Fewer post-its. The folder still existed, but people had stopped referencing it out loud. It became more like a room with the light off, still there but no longer at the center of the house. Which made sense. Offices move on. Projects resurface. Q4 deadlines start to whisper like ghosts. Life seeps back in through the cracks. Still, I missed the hum. The invisible thread that had linked us all for a few weeks. It had felt like breathing fresh air after a long time underground. I checked the folder every day. Not because I expected something, but because I hoped. Some days there was nothing. Some days a poem, a scribbled thought, a photo of someone's dog with a caption that read. Some days, she's the only reason I come home smiling. Those little offerings kept me going. One afternoon, I found Raj again. Back at his desk, typing something furiously. He looked up when I passed. Hey, he said, pushing back from his keyboard. Got a minute? We stepped into a huddle room. No agenda. He sat with his hands in his lap, eyes a little softer than usual. I listened to your file, he said. Which one? I asked, genuinely not sure anymore. The one about wanting to be seen but not watched. About the difference. That hit me. I nodded. Raj leaned forward, elbows on knees. You know what I realized? I've been in this company for 5 years and no one here knows I play piano. I blinked. You do? He nodded. Every weekend. Church basement. Old upright Yamaha. It's my sanctuary. But I never told anyone because I thought it would make me look unserious. That's beautiful, man. I added something to the folder, he said. Me playing. Just 3 minutes. A melody I made up. I opened the folder later that day. It was called unnamed_keys.wave. Simple. Quiet. But hauntingly beautiful. For the first time in a while, I cried. That Friday, I stayed late. Not out of guilt. Just inertia. The office was quiet again. But not the heavy quiet. The kind where things settle after a storm. Tom passed by my desk on his way out. You still here? He asked. Just wrapping up. He hesitated. Then. I've been thinking about your folder. About what it's done. I looked up. I want to propose something, he said. A monthly space. Voluntary. Off the record. Just people talking. Not a meeting. Not therapy. Just human air. I smiled. That sounds like something worth trying. He nodded. You want to help lead it? I didn't answer immediately. Then, only if we keep it messy. He grinned. Wouldn't work any other way. On Sunday, I walked to the park. Left my phone at home. Sat on a bench and just existed. I watched people with dogs. A couple arguing over ice cream. A kid chasing a squirrel. And I thought, maybe I don't need to tell the whole world everything. Maybe just letting it move through me is enough sometimes. When I got home, I opened the folder. No new entries. So I uploaded one more. log_11.wave. It's quieter now. But quiet doesn't mean empty. It just means the storm's moved on, and we're learning how to live with the sky clear again. I'm not afraid to speak anymore. But I'm also not afraid to listen. If you're out there, still holding your story in your throat, you don't have to scream. A whisper is enough. Even just breathing counts. You're still here. That matters. I closed the laptop. And made tea. The kind I always said I didn't like, but kept buying anyway. Some things don't need to make sense to be true. By midweek, the folder had turned into something of a digital park bench. A place people visited, lingered, sometimes left small gifts and pieces of themselves before quietly stepping away again. There was no structure. No prompts. Just the quiet expectation that if you spoke from somewhere honest, someone would hear you even if they never said it out loud. I'd started checking in every morning, like reading the paper. That Wednesday, I found a new upload, reflection_journal_8.pdf. It was 4 pages long. Typed. No name. I've been pretending that I love every part of parenting. But I don't. Some days I feel like I'm failing both at work and at home. No one asks because I smile too well. I never knew it was possible to love someone so much and still want to scream into the void. It wasn't poetic. It wasn't polished. It was true. And it stayed with me all day. That afternoon, Claire invited me to get a coffee. We sat on a bench just outside the building, sipping slowly while traffic buzzed in the distance. You know what I like about the folder? She asked. I shook my head. It's made me kinder, she said. To strangers. To myself. It reminds me everyone's carrying something invisible. I nodded. It's like we've all been speaking a secret language, and now someone finally wrote a translation key. She smiled. Exactly. She hesitated. Then. My sister listened to your original file. She doesn't even work here. But I sent it to her. I blinked. You what? She was going through something. I couldn't find the words. So I sent yours. I didn't know what to say. Claire took a long sip. She cried. Then she called me. We talked for 2 hours. First time in years. Still, I didn't speak. My chest tightened. I just wanted you to know, she said. That even when it feels small, it isn't. That night, I didn't record a log. Instead, I went back and listened to the very first one. My voice, uncertain. Words halting. Raw. It sounded like someone I almost didn't recognize. But someone I respected. Because he tried. Friday brought something unexpected. An email blast from HR. Subject, a new internal project, unmuted. Inspired by recent anonymous contributions and conversations across teams, we're piloting a storytelling initiative. This is not about performance. This is about presence. Employees are invited to contribute pieces anonymously or otherwise to a digital collection. Stories, songs, journal entries, letters to no one. The only rule, speak from somewhere real. We'll launch it company-wide next quarter. If you'd like to be involved in shaping it, email us. I didn't hesitate. I replied. Count me in. That weekend, I visited my parents. We had lunch, the kind where everyone chews more than they talks. Afterward, my dad and I sat in the backyard. He was peeling an orange with surgeon-level precision. You seem lighter, he said, not looking up. Trying, I said. He handed me a slice. Keep going. That was his version of a hug. I took it. Sunday night, I uploaded one more file. log_12.wave. I used to think my job was to keep everything in. To be efficient. Pleasant. Manageable. But people don't connect to perfection. They connect to the places you cracked and still chose to stay. This isn't about being brave anymore. It's about being real. About choosing not to perform, even when it's easier. And maybe, if nothing else, this folder, these voices, are proof that we're allowed to take up space, even when we're messy. Especially then. By the start of the next week, Unmuted had its own tab on the internal site. It didn't look polished, no flashy graphics, no corporate sheen, just a list of anonymous entries, one beneath the other. Some were short. Some scrolled for pages. Some were images. A drawing of a storm cloud. A sticky note that read "Still trying." A scanned letter someone had written to their younger self. I read through each one like they were gospel. There were stories of fear, of love lost and found, of mental health breakdowns no one had ever noticed. Someone wrote about freezing in a supermarket because they couldn't remember how to choose cereal. Someone else wrote about being promoted and feeling more lost than proud. And in between the sadness, flickers of light. Hope. Humor. Humanity. A small piece of each person stepping forward, not with a speech, but with a whisper that somehow carried farther than they expected. Midweek, I had lunch with Chris again. He seemed clearer. Like he'd started sleeping more. He told me he'd broken things off with his girlfriend. Not with anger, but clarity. I kept telling myself she didn't deserve my confusion, he said, unwrapping his sandwich. But the truth is, I didn't deserve my silence. He looked at me and smiled. You gave me that. That permission. I shook my head. You gave it to yourself. I just cracked a window. He raised his coffee cup and a toast. To cracked windows. Thursday evening, I got a message from someone I didn't recognize. Subject, thank you. Hey. You don't know me, I'm in the Phoenix office. I found your file because someone forwarded it. I listened to it during a panic attack in my car, and it made me feel like I wasn't losing my mind, just being human. I haven't spoken to anyone about it yet. But I will. Soon. I just wanted you to know that you helped someone, even states away. I sat with the message open for 15 minutes. Then I replied. You're not alone. You never were. I'm rooting for you. On Friday, Tom dropped by my desk. He looked a little nervous. I've got a wild idea, he said. Hit me. What if we record a podcast? I blinked. Internal only, he added quickly. Short episodes. Employees reading their own entries. Maybe just one per week. 5 minutes. Real voices. Real stories. No hosts. No scripts. I let it settle. That's not wild, I said. No? It's honest. And I think we're all hungry for that. He smiled. Think you'd want to produce it? I don't have experience. You have heart. That's rarer. I nodded. Let's try it. That weekend, I recorded a new log. But this one felt different. Less confession, more offering. Log_13.wave. We talk about culture like it's set in stone. Like it's top down. But maybe culture is built in moments like this, where someone tells the truth, and someone else stays. What we share doesn't have to be poetic. It just has to be real. I used to want to disappear. Now I want to take up space, not because I'm loud, but because I'm alive. If you're still afraid to speak, that's okay. Just know the rest of us are listening. And we're not here to judge. We're here to nod. We're here to stay. Monday morning, I uploaded it. The file was the first one in the new podcast folder. I didn't check how many people listened. I just kept my window open, let the breeze in, and felt like maybe, finally, this place had caught up to who we actually were. The podcast launched quietly. No corporate blast. No bolded announcement. Just a line in the weekly email, new internal audio, real stories from real people. 5 minutes. Headphones encouraged. It took off faster than anyone expected. The first episode of my log was downloaded 63 times the first day. Then 100. Then 200. People whispered about it in the kitchen, passed it around in side channels. Someone even wrote a haiku in the comments thread. Truth has a small voice, we heard it and stayed longer, warmth inside silence. I printed that and pinned it to my cubicle wall. The second episode was Claire. She read her entry in a tone that shook slightly at the start, then grew steadier as it went. Her voice cracked once, and she didn't edit it out. I leave the light on in the bathroom some nights, she said. Because the dark isn't scary, but remembering what's in it sometimes is. I cried listening to it. Not for her pain. But for her courage. And because I knew exactly what she meant. Midweek, I passed Raj in the hallway. He was humming something soft and familiar. I asked what it was. A piece I'm working on, he said. Might record it for the next one. His smile was different now. Less guarded. Maybe mine was, too. The original folder still lived in the drive, but now it was archived as the beginning. Someone had renamed it. No one disputed it. New stories found their way into Unmuted. They came from across departments, time zones, experience levels. Some people signed their names. Some didn't. One entry just read. I left my last job because no one noticed when I stopped laughing. Another. This place feels like a second chance. Another. Thank you for showing me it's okay to feel like I'm still becoming. And one more, uploaded late on a Friday night, simply said. You helped me stay. I went home that night and recorded my final log. Log_14.wave. There's a version of me that didn't survive this. The one who stayed silent, stayed invisible, stayed contained. I remember him. I honor him. But I don't want to go back. This isn't the end of something. It's the start of showing up, not just for others, but for myself. I used to think being known would undo me. But I was already undone. What being known did was stitch me back together with threads of shared breath, kindness, and the brave sound of me too. And if you're out there, still hovering at the edge, wondering if it's safe to speak, I hope this folder, this feed, this fragile archive of truth is your answer. Come as you are. We'll keep the light on. Monday morning, that final file went live. No fanfare. No credits. Just one last voice. And a message that never really ends.